In today's video, I'll take you with me to one of my favorite towns in Illinois. I'll give you a quick history and then we'll paint at my cousin's cafe in the historic downtown. I'll show you the travel supplies I brought with for my trip to the US and introduce you to my cousin who will draw alongside me as I paint the view from the window of the cafe. Make yourself a cuppa as I take you with me on my journey into the past. I'm here at my cousin's cafe and I'm going to go in. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a tiny painting or maybe just paint one of my postcards that I brought from England. It is still early morning because I'm still on UK time. I'll have to wait and see how I feel when I'm in there. But this is such a beautiful area of this historic little village, and it's nostalgic to be here because it was always one of my favorite villages to visit when I grew up and lived here, and it looks timeless. I grew up near here, and Frankfurt was always my favorite town because of its historic downtown area and history, but mostly because of the granary, which I'll tell you about in a minute. The land was originally the home of the Potawatomi and Sac and Fox tribes and was a popular meeting place because it was situated between the Des Plaines and St. Joseph rivers. In 1830, after the French signed a treaty with the chief of the Potawatomi for the land, the first pioneers arrived by wagon and river. Most were of English and Scottish descent, but it was those of German descent who really made it a village, hence the name Frankfurt, a nod to Frankfurt, Germany. In 1855, a railroad line was built here for the Michigan Central Railroad that linked Joliet and northern Indiana. While it's no longer here, the station building remains and is the home of different shops, public bathrooms, and more. The old railroad line is now the Old Plank Trail, which is a 20-mile walking and biking trail popular with residents and goes through the historic downtown. When I was a child, I was obsessed with pioneer history. And so I especially loved Frankfurt because of its old granary building, which had mysteriously burned down a few times in the past, but which was rebuilt in 1974 and reopened as an 1890s themed storefront on the inside, with 30 shops over 3 floors selling items from the past as well as modern things. It had wooden sidewalks inside and a brick street and was enchanting. For a child who alternately wanted to be a Native American one day or Laura Ingalls on another, it was heaven. Sadly, 2 fires in 1984 and 1985 destroyed the granary again, and today all that remains is the grain elevator. Today, the population of Frankfurt is soaring. It hovered between 1,000 residents up until the 1950s, but even when I grew up here in the 70s and 80s, there were less than 2,500 residents. These days, Frankfurt has over 20,000 residents. It's popular for its historic center, which boasts restaurants, cafes, shops, boutiques, a museum, and many community events like farmers markets, outdoor concerts and movies, craft and art fairs, festivals, and more. It's also home of the 13-acre Prairie Park, which has preserved native prairie and plants and walking paths. Luckily for us, my cousin Rachel owns a charming cafe here, and that's where we're going to paint today. I sort of have my eye on this little scene over in the background here with the trees, but I haven't completely decided. I might just do an interior scene. It's really good. I'm still jet lagged and between countries, so it's really early in the morning here in the US, but in England it's early afternoon, so I'm not normally somebody who feels really creative and like painting early in the morning, but I'm going to give it my best. And I'm waiting for one of my cousins to join me, and we're going to paint together. And it's her daughter who owns this cafe, who is another cousin, my first cousin once removed. And while we're waiting, I'm going to show you the supplies that I brought with me to the US this time. These are the only two things that I brought filled with supplies. This is my Sendak, and it's got my usual things in there, but also a few little extras. And then I borrowed this idea, or I stole it. Okay, I shamelessly stole this idea from Lindsay Wyrick, the frugal crafter. It's a nurse's clipboard that has storage. And I've used folding nurse's clipboards before for easels, but she featured this on a recent video that I'll link in the description. And I just thought this is perfect for travel because I can put some papers or maybe even color charts or something in this top portion right here. So here I just brought some extra paper, and I also brought a collection of my postcards that I might paint. And I have a collection of other color charts and watercolor paper right here. And then this top bit opens, and on the inside, I've just chucked it full of stuff that I thought might be kind of fun to use. So this is a square sketchbook. I'm not sure where I got this one. It says Potentate. I think I may have just purchased this on Amazon. I don't even know if it's cotton paper or not. It wasn't that expensive. I'm not as interested in the sketchbook as I am in experimenting with this size format and also just using a square sketchbook in a larger format than what I usually do for the tiny paintings. So that's just a little extra that I brought. I brought some of these Caran d'Ache pencils that I picked up recently. They were part of a limited edition, and I just thought they were fun. If I did any quick sketching, it could be interesting to just play around with some color. Although I've been here in the US for a few days now, it's a short visit, and I'm not really finding much time to do art because I've been spending so much time visiting with family. I brought my folio palette by Art Toolkit with an assortment of different colors. This is the original little color chart that I made to go with it, but I've added colors and moved some things around since then, so maybe I will update that. I also brought my Graphitint pencils. I haven't used these in years, but they're really fun for just drawing or adding little pops of color. They actually have graphite in them, and they're water soluble, so you use them in a similar fashion to watercolor pencils. I don't know that I'm going to really have time for those either, but you just never know when you come on a trip how much time you're going to have or how many things you're going to want to do. So this was nice because I'm able to fit all of these secondary things in here. I have my readers and just an extra mechanical pencil. And then some various clips for if I decided to paint with this. Oh, and a pencil sharpener. This is the dual point Blackwing, so you can get a long point on this pencil sharpener, which is useful. The thing that I really love about this is that it's not that heavy because it is just a hard plastic. I like that it has two separate compartments, even though it's pretty slim-lined. And I could take this out on the airplane, on the tray table. I could put it there. Normally, it's difficult for me to paint on a plane because those tray tables are so little. But with this one, you can just hold it. You can grab things out of here as you need them. Everything's all contained. I don't even need to have my Sendak out if I don't want to. So this was really useful. I also realized that if I just lift the top and fiddle with this latch, I can put that down and get a little bit of an angle. So if you want to draw or paint at a slight incline, you can easily do that as well. Anyway, I'm just playing around with this still. I really love it. It's a perfect way to be able to carry supplies with me when I'm traveling. Oh, and then this is my academic divider. I leave this one here at my mom's house because I'm always afraid they'll treat it as a weapon and not let me take it on board the plane. I have lots of different tours of my Sendak and even my mini Sendak, so I'm just gonna run through this really quickly, and I'll link some of those other tours in the description. It is a little bit different. I have 2 watercolor brushes here from ROSEMARY&CO. They're 2 of the pointed rounds. I believe they're a 6 and a 4, and these are for if I'm going to paint the postcards, because I will use a normal brush for that. I also brought my favorite little fountain pen with a waterproof ink in it for ink and wash, and this is a fine nib, and I just love it. It's the perfect little package for having a portable fountain pen. I have a few mechanical pencils, my little Tombow mono eraser, and for the tiny painting, I have 3 different brown fine liners. I was able to find one of the older Prismacolor Premiers. This is in the darker brown ink. I also love this dark color of the Staedtler. Unfortunately, the smallest they make is a 0.3, so this is only for very definitive areas in a tiny painting. And then, of course, I have my 0.1 Unipin Sepia. I have another click eraser. And I did bring 2 water-soluble sketching pencils. These are really fun if you want to do a quick sketch and have like a lot of bang for your buck. I have my Molotow masking fluid marker. And then these are my selection of white or cream markers. I have the Pentel Milky Brush, which if you've seen any of my videos before, you know I love. I have the Pentel Matte Hop in Cream. And then I have a 08 Jelly Roll pen. In the back, I have some scrap paper, a metal ruler, a pipette for adding water, and this is a new addition. It's the Peg and All Petra palette, and this is similar to their thinner palette, which I've used and brought for travel before, but this one actually has a mixing palette included. So I'm excited to use that. And I've added a little demi palette pan from the Art Toolkit here so that I could actually have 2 different reds. And so far that's working pretty well. I love everything that Peg and All makes, and I love how nicely it just fits into the pouch here. All of my tiny painting things are in this pouch. This is for the whiskey painters, and the magnet for my tiny palette, it just holds it in there. So I have that. I have my spray bottle and my tiny sketchbook. And here I have 2 of the water brushes. These are the Pentel Aquash brushes, which are my favorites. And I have the small and the large. Over in this zipped pouch, I have a few different goodies, mostly just extra things. This is my gouache palette, my dry gouache palette, and those are the colors that I have in it. I love this tiny demi palette for having some gouache in case I want to do touch-ups on a watercolor painting or just do gouache. I have 2 more watercolor brushes. This one is a ROSEMARY&CO, and this one is like a scrubber brush for scrubbing colors out, but I find it's also really nice for smooth, flat lines. And then this is an Albatross, just a little number 2 detail brush. And other than that, I just have my knitting needles, some eye teas, I have my kneaded eraser in here, some extra lead and erasers. I have some washi tape down in the bottom. And then this is my alternative sketchbook from Peg and All. And this is fun for doing little sketches sometimes. I have a few in the back I can show you. But this is a lot of fun to use if you don't have a lot of time and you want to do a quick little sketch. So I'm going to have my little snack now and then get started painting. I don't have too much in these back pouches, just my view catcher. And then in this one, I have some business cards and some extra paper for the other tiny palette that I brought, which I didn't bring with me to the cafe. All right, I'm going to eat my little snack and then get started painting. This isn't a real breakfasty food, but because I do feel like it's afternoon, I decided to get it. It's hummus with sriracha and everything but the bagel mix on gluten-free toast. So that's my breakfast. Do you want a bite? One of my favorite things about coming to America is that I'm still on UK time. So when I come here, I become a morning person, at least for the first few days or week of my trip. And I'm not normally a morning person, but I wish that I was. I wish that my body was awake and ready to go in the mornings. So I come here, and right now it's about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, but in the UK it's early afternoon. Another thing I like to do is to come to touristy areas off season. If I was at this cafe in the summer in this town, which is quite touristy, this cafe would be hopping, and there's no way that I would get this luxury spot all to myself in the window to be able to paint. Also, the street behind me would be filled with cars. It would obstruct the view of pretty things to draw. And in fact, I might not even be able to get a good parking spot. I'd probably have to park a few blocks away and hike here to the cafe. So if you're somebody who wants to get out and do travel painting, but you feel a little bit of anxiety about it, go to places early in the morning when the crowds aren't as great, or go to a place when it's off season. And that way you can kind of get your toes wet, dip them in the water, and do some painting and learn to paint outside and lower your own stress levels. My cousins Jill and Donna, as well as Rachel, the owner of the cafe, stopped by for a little visit. And Jill brought these old letters from 1954 that my mother wrote to her older brother when he was in the Korean War. So those were pretty special. So this is Donna, and I'm interested in seeing what she brought because I haven't seen her for a while. And I know she has a little pencil kit that I made for her a while ago, but I don't know how she's adapted it. She's going to show me everything that she's got in her pencil case and everything that you brought.
So I did bring my Prismacolors. I got this nice case to fit them all in, which makes it nice, and I can have them all in here. It's like 100.
Oh, wow. So this is all just pencils in here.
This is all just pencils in here. My cousin, my lovely cousin, gave me this thing, which I use more than anything right now for my drawings.
Have you added stuff to this?
No.
So you got,
did I add? Let me see.
well, you got them. You added some
added
two
these.
Molotov markers.
Thanks to my hubby. Been
These
using
uni
this
pens.
mostly this side, yep. I haven't delved into the watercolor at all yet. Okay. I'm a nervous on the watercolor, I'm not gonna lie. Like to go through all of that inking like that and then the watercolor and ruin it would,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what you do what you say, would just put it on paper and have a copy put on watercolor and go from there, but whoopsie. Okay.
So you wet the bottom, and then you can just put a drop in the pan and stick it in there. And then that's it. It won't fall out.
All right, that's
Like
cool.
an instant glue.
And then here's my upside down drawing book. So I guess there's a marking here, which, you know, we heathens just don't pay attention to that stuff. And so I just started drawing. So I'm upside down on my book, which I didn't know until my cousin just told me. So these are some things I was messing around with trying to draw.
How long have you been drawing?
I started doing the Zentangle after a loss.
I love this.
I'm really happy with that too.
So this was part of...
This was right before Ink October. So this was the first one, which
That's
I
great.
had no clue. Like
And those were
I'm
from the photo
amazed.
references from my Pinterest?
Yeah, I amazed myself. I love this. It's probably my favorite. But I listen to you when you say, you know, like that lighter hand and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy with the building. Not so crazy about the foliage, but I'm still learning the different techniques on, what do you call it, value?
Yeah.
And then this one really scared me because yours was so beautiful, and I thought there's no way I could do that. For as scared as I was, I did use some of yours after I went in and looked at yours because the rocks are difficult for me. But I'm learning. And then this is one I did on my own, and you could tell because it's a little bit darker. I still didn't know how to work the rock. But I did surprise myself, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. For somebody who hasn't been drawing very long, I'm always really impressed by how good you are.
Aww.
I'm like, I would think that you're somebody who's just always drawn. And that, you know, maybe now you're just getting a little bit more serious, but that it's something you've always done. And
You know, the family is artistic. I never felt I had that.
yeah,
And then I said, oh, all I want to do is doodle. That's all
Yeah.
I wanted to learn how to do is doodle,
Yeah.
right? We started to doodle on and off because of, you know, having you as my cousin. But the Inktober sparked me in Arizona.
Yeah.
So this I wanted, and with your kit, something I could bring with me anywhere.
yeah.
Which it really is something I could bring anywhere, that little kit.
there is something about that idea of doing a little bit, at least a few times a week, helps, I think, keep you current and fresh and remembering all the things that you've learned and able to implement those.
And then,
definitely.
And that's what the kids said. Like Rachel was like, "Wow, Mom, you can really see the difference even in just a day."
Yeah. To do ink when you're new to drawing, that's a feat in itself.
And the inking was new. Like this, I picked up from you. Like in here, this, bringing this down in little swoops. The highlights. That's all you.
Well, it's you.
Well, you know what I'm saying. I wouldn't know how to get that shadow in there with a pen.
Yeah.
It's difficult to work with those pens. It's challenging, and I was only using basically 3 pens.
So what do you think you're going to draw?
I'm going to watch you paint out there, and I'm going to follow you.
Oh, you're just going to do a copycat thing?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Guided painting, we call it.
Yeah, I think I like it.
All right, super. I'm going to do a tiny painting this.
Mine would probably be a little bigger, a little bit different, but I think I'm going to follow your lead.
Normally when I'm painting, I'm looking for something that has intense shadows or highlights, but it's a very overcast day, so I'm looking for different things. So in this instance, the thing I like about this is there are an array of different colors.
That's such a different view than I'm getting from right here. That's awesome.
Oh, maybe we can scoot the couch over a bit. And then the colors then will carry the painting more so than the shadows and the light. Because I don't even see any cast shadows here.
Not today.
But look at all those beautiful colors. So, and I'm also thinking, do you see those lights there?
I do.
I think if we can sort of angle it down, but make it square where we have a little bit of that to create some visual interest, a little bit of that to carry us in. And then we have a little pop of the building there. So, yeah. Do you want to paint that with me, or do you want to do something else?
Do I want to paint that with you? I'll try.
Okay.
I don't think I could do it, but I'm going to try.
You can do anything you want. It's always lovely to paint from life, but even more so when you're accompanied by friends or relatives. Thanks so much for coming along with me today. If you'd like to see a real-time narrated video of today's painting, check out my Patreon. I hope you all have a beautiful day with many happy painting adventures of your own.